بسم الله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. Some time ago I got a call from a mom, and usually when a sister calls it's either about her marital issues or her family issues or the issues with the kids. So she was crying and almost bawling because she has a daughter who was in high school at that time. And mashallah, her daughter, she's a very good girl, like, you know, the kind of girl that you look up to in the masjid and say, mashallah, someone who goes, prays all her prayers, she wears hijab, she comes to the masjid regularly. So this mother basically, somehow, the daughter left her email open, and she kind of snooped around in her email, and she found out that the girl was going out with a guy at school. So mother was furious, she was heartbroken, she was crying. And while she's telling me all the details, in my heart, I was thanking Allah that the boy the girl is going out with is actually a Muslim boy. Why? Because some time ago, again, there was another incident where this mom, whose daughter was also in high school, and a good daughter, mashallah, always went to Islamic school, always present at the masjid. So one day mom came home earlier than she expected, and she found her daughter making out with a non-Muslim boy in the living room. And this girl was completely, basically, ready to marry him whether he accepts Islam or he doesn't accept Islam. Are these incidents rare? I mean, I wish I could tell you yes, but the reality is that they're not. Unfortunately, in every community, in every masjid pretty much, this is happening in every part of the world. And as a youth coordinator and a spiritual advisor myself, it is almost shocking not to find a girl who is involved with a boy, directly or indirectly, one way or the other, in person or through the internet, through the Facebook, or through some way of communication, she's involved with another boy. And I'm not talking about girls who don't care about their religious values. I'm talking about girls who are serious about their faith. I'm talking about girls who are committed to their religious values. They are the ones who are constantly slipping into this temptation. Why? Because the temptation of the opposite gender is a very dangerous and a strong trial for girls too, and not just for the boys. And I wrote an article about this some time ago for Muslim Matters about 2 months ago. If you are interested, you can go read it over there. Anyways, I'm going to highlight some problems that are surrounding this issue, that are contributing to this issue. I don't have time to go into all the problems, so I'm just going to highlight the 3 most important ones, and then inshallah we will go into the solutions. So real quick, the first problem is the lack of recognition of female sexual desires. There's a stigma, there's some sort of this concept attached that, oh, it's just a man's thing, it's just a boy's thing. If they slip, it's okay, but the minute a girl slips into her, gives into her carnal desires, it's like it's a disaster. It cannot happen. Somehow the girl is impure, but the boy is not. And I'm not going to go into this debate right now, whether, you know, I'm not talking about whose fitna is stronger than the others. All I'm saying is that the fitna is there for the girls too. This temptation exists for the girls too. And just something for you all to think about is, if it wasn't, then think about why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why Islam would have the exact same punishment for a boy and for a girl, for a male and for a female, if they give in to their carnal or sexual desires. So think about it. The second issue we have is, or the problem we have, is the lack of proper parenting. Okay? Now, notice here, I'm not saying proper upbringing, because the reality is that no matter how perfect your upbringing is for your child, no matter how perfect your tarbiyah is towards your children, it's impossible to guarantee that your child is not going to slip into the temptation of the opposite gender. But the proper parenting is all about when and if that happens, how do you handle the situation? That's the proper parenting. And when I'm advising parents, when I'm advising those parents who are dealing with this issue, these are the problems that I face. First, gender gap or the cultural gap. The parents who are coming from overseas or the parents who have really strong cultural values, they really end up developing this generation or cultural gap between their children and themselves. The second problem I face with the parents is the lack of communication with their children that we discussed right now. I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to emphasize the value of communication with your child, but the communication is the key to keep a strong relationship with your children. And there should not be any topic that you cannot talk to your child about. It's heartbreaking when I see parents shy away from the most important topics of discussions from with their children. Sex and sexuality and love and opposite gender. These are the topics. You should have such a strong communication with your children that these topics would be just as usual and as normal as any other topic of discussion in your family. And the last problem that I'm going to highlight is the parents' lack of sort of trust in Allah or not knowing when to interfere or when to back off. These are the issues that the parents need to resolve. Then the second, outside the home. So these are the issues inside the house, okay? Then we have issues outside the house that contribute to this problem, which is the community. Unfortunately, and this is I'm not talking only about Houston community, I'm talking about any community, any Muslim community in any part of the world. And I've traveled all over US and a lot of countries in the East, and I've seen this problem everywhere, that if and when our community finds out about a girl who is involved romantically with a boy, they completely outcast her. They become extremely judgmental, forgetting that all of us make mistakes. And they forget that that's a sin that they're committing against Allah before it's against the community, before it's against their parents, before it's against anyone else. It's a sin against Allah. And they might be repenting and Allah might have already forgiven them. We forget to remember this. And the community becomes so judgmental that they shun the girl, they outcast her, basically forcing them to leave the mosque, the unmosque, one of the reasons of unmosking that Brother Atif talked about earlier. So these are the two problem areas. We have problems in the home and then we have problems in the community. What can we do? The solutions? There are many solutions, but again, I'm only going to highlight some of the very important ones. Firstly, parenting technique, it just needs to change. We need to offer more parenting workshops. We need to build communication between parents and children. To the point, this is example. I'm talking about that if a daughter has a crush on a boy, which is very normal, which is part of a very normal life. If she doesn't, that's abnormal. She should be able to come and talk to her parents about it. This is the kind of communication I'm talking about. And how should parents react when they're faced with a fragile situation? We need to train our parents and we need to basically equip them with enough wisdom, inshallah, and with enough techniques to how to handle these situations. Secondly, we need more female leadership. Girls do not open to male speakers. They will not open up completely 100%. They will never open up to male speakers. We need more female leadership. We need to see more female speakers. We need to see more female advisors, counselors, just people who will come and talk to the girls and who are trained in doing that. And while we are working on this, bringing more females to speak up, our male speakers need to really become less intimidating. They need to become more understanding towards females, less judgmental, and less conservative when speaking to female audience. Fourthly, we need to have more youth advice and help hotlines. We need to invest more time, more money, more resources in coming up with either phone lines, on the internet, or just in the different masajids, webinars to offer them, you know, just help and advice. And lastly, there's a letter that I wrote to female youth about 2 months ago, and it's basically available on muslimmatters.org. That letter is an apology letter to all the Muslim youth. I want you to print it and distribute it in your masjids. It's available right there on the table over there. And I'm not telling you to do this because I want you to advertise my letter. No. I'm asking you to do this is because I want each and every one of you to become accessible to our female youth. And the first step to do that is to acknowledge and let the girls know that you understand. And that's exactly what the letter is all about. Jazakallah khair.